Hello everyone, welcome back to some more of the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. Last time, a good few things happened as I seem to recall. We started off episode 5 with Lord Strongheart as the judge this time around. That's something. What else? We got this lucky charm from Iris, told to pull it if we run out of options. And as our first testimony, we got Gina essentially saying the victim's whereabouts, saying he was at a club called the Grouse. To which case, as you see, the steamship, you probably don't see it, but the steamship's name is the Grouse. And so we basically proved that he had to have been on that steamship that time. Let's see. Then Cosma essentially asked her for more testimony regarding the Reaper's notebook. Right. Essentially they decided to... Let me reread this for a second. After that, they were asking what he was doing in that steamship, and since they suspect Greg, and since since Gregson suspects, since Cosmo suspects Van Zieks of being the Reaper, and thought Van Zieks killed Gregson because he failed his task, which was on the steamship to kill Judge Goku. He wanted more testimony from Gina, but Van Zieks interrupted, and yeah, we basically have him able to speak along with Gina. So yeah. Anyways, Reaper's notebook. Alright. I think I read this last time, so I don't think I'm gonna redo it again. Alright, let's get started then, shall we? Sorry, it's been a little bit for me, so I don't really know. I have to re-look through everything. You know how it is. Anyways, this notebook does have a lot of stuff about what the people got up to, names of the victims, says grouse for the place, name of the mark, those not about him being a criminal what got away, but he didn't do none of it. Well, I don't see anything that's standing out to me, so let me see what the hint is. So, that's what we have to work with. It may help us that Lord Van Zieks is in this town too. Yes, perhaps. I'm sure Gina knows nothing she hasn't already told us. There's no point trying to get more out of her. Did you notice how Cosmo-sama reacted to Lord Van Zieks' words? When he called him an even more sinister Reaper, you mean? Well, I'm sure Cosmo intends to eliminate any shred of doubt that the man is guilty. He's looking for revenge against the person he considers to be his father's killer, after all. I do worry that if we fail to find a discrepancy in this testimony somewhere, the trial may end and education won't go in our favor. Let's listen carefully again to what everyone is saying. Yeah, that's a good idea. What have we got up to these past 10 years? Okay. I guess let's just press everything because I can't see anything that's Hold it! Stands out to me. In other words, it shows that Gregson was basically acting as the Reaper? Not you and all. That ain't the only explanation, is it? He could have been investigating the Reaper in secret, and that notebook said what he found out. If I may. When originally people began referring to me as the Reaper, I didn't object. I believed the power to intimidate London's criminal classes into compliance with the law was to be beneficial. But you carried out your own investigation into the true identity of the Reaper, didn't you? Yes, and those investigations proved conclusively that Gregson was one arm of the Reaper. One arm? What are you on about? The Reaper's victims were all extremely shrewd criminals at the top of their game. There's simply no way one person could have taken them all on alone. The Reaper is an organization.
With you at its head?
I had spies at the yard keeping me abreast of Gregson's movements, letting me know when he was elsewhere. So I'd been able to check for the most recent entry in his book. I knew the location.
You knew it said grouse?
Believing it to be a reference to the Gentleman's Club, I went there on the day in question to investigate, alone.
Ah, so that explains why several members of the club claim to have seen you there.
But of course, the inspector was not there.
Because at the time he was making his way to the steamship docked on the northern coast of France, as shown by the passport found in the victim's metal trunk. Very well then, back to your testimony about the contents of this notebook.
Fine.
Is something wrong, Mr. Naruhodo? You seemed a little shocked by something a moment ago.
Oh,
No, it's alright. I'm overthinking this, aren't I?
Yeah. That is weirding me out for some reason, because... Huh. Oh, I'm just thinking. Whatever. Whatever then. I guess let's do the second statement.
Names of victims, dates, places, and stuff? What in particular?
Well, saw the victim's name. This other name kept cropping up.
What other name was that?
It's the one I told you of yesterday. The same name, written over and over again.
You mean Asa Shin?
Yeah, that's the one. She a friend of yours or something, isn't she?
Were you even listening yesterday?
Assassin. The assassin. What? Like, a killer, you mean? Gregson was the tactician, the one who came up with the plan of attack. He investigated the marks thoroughly, finding out when they will be vulnerable and who to use to get at them. But the person actually executing his plans was someone else, you're saying? If that's true, then the Reaper does indeed start to sound like an organized group of vigilantes.
Sorry, these words... I don't know if I have dyslexia or something, but these words look different to me. Then perhaps what it said on the passport document. Permission for the applicant and one additional person to travel. Could that additional person have been... Clearly the assassin who was meant to take Seishiro Jigoku's life. Then why not ice the assassin? Why ice, sorry, not ice, kill. So I say ice when I mean it sometimes. Why not take out the assassin? Why not just take out Gregson? Gina, can you confirm that? Against the final entry that listed Grouse and Seishiro Jigoku, what name was written?
Well, that's the only entry that didn't have a name next to it, as it happens.
What?
It just had like a question mark or something there, I think. In other words, Gregson himself didn't know the identity of the assassin in that case. But Gregson was the one making the plans, was he not?
Oh, how infuriating. A nameless assassin.
Huh.
A nameless assassin. Alright then.
Hold it!
I was thinking it might be Gina, because he said he wanted to take Gina to Paris or something like that, but And you're saying that the mark listed was Seishiro Jigoku? That's what it said. A funny name if you ask me. And I thought your name was on. So please, I've lost my crown there.
Mr. Jigoku is the presiding judge of Japan's Supreme Court of Judicature.
I remember the man. He came to our country as a visiting student 16 years ago.
Studying international law and diplomacy under your tutelage, Lord Strongheart.
That bearded young fellow was a very able man, I must say. So, Lord Strongheart was Judge Jigoku's mentor. If I'm not mistaken, he returned to Japan 10 years ago now. 10 years ago, after that fateful case. Precisely. In the aftermath of the Professor case, his repatriation was organized immediately. It's a mystery why such a man will be listed in the inspector's notebook. I didn't think it was possible, but the mood near's got even worse now. Maybe I'll just keep talking. Not about him being a criminal, what got away? Yeah?
Hold it!
How did I not see this? What do you mean a criminal? Judge Jigoku is no criminal. Oh, don't ask me. I don't know nothing about it. Oh, do you remember what Father told us? That Judge Jigoku did once appear in court here in Britain? It was related to the Professor case, I'm sure. Yes, of course. You're right. Seishiro was trying to mitigate Genshin's guilt, so he took to the stand to testify. But he got a little carried away and, actually managed to break the witness stand. He also said that some contemptuous words about the British Empire, for which he was charged.
It was a pitiful situation, yes. I'd forgotten all about it, but I prosecuted that trial too, as it happens.
You did?
It was considered to be an adjunct to the Professor case proceedings, you see. But he was acquitted after being told to make reparation for the damage caused to the stand. And there you have it. Have what? Surely the accused hasn't forgotten his own rule? That there's no saving anyone who faces the Reaper in court, guilty or innocent alike.
Cosma, he didn't do nothing much. He's not really a whole criminal. He just broke the witness stand because he got too angry, like. I don't think that's a killable offense. Plus, what about Gina? What about Natsume? Like, ugh. What? No! Are you suggesting that the reason Judge Jigoku was targeted for assassination?
The man was sent back to Japan immediately after that trial. The Reaper had no time to do his work. But then, 10 years later, the mark returns to Britain once more. Perhaps now you start to see just how vindictive the Reaper is.
Come on, that's absurd. To take someone's life for that?
Isn't the whole premise of the Reaper absurd? Killing those who have been found innocent. Clearly the rules by which the man operates are beyond a sane person's comprehension.
But who said that? Right, I've had just about enough of this. Gina? All this nonsense about the boss planning to kill people. It's cobblers. Come on, Otto. Yes? Why aren't you saying nothing? Why aren't you yelling out objection or something? What? You've got to find a flaw. You do, usually. Someone's lying here. No question. You gotta work out who it is. Please. For the boss. That outburst was an insult to the court and to your own testimony. I might have known that a common pickpocket from the back slums couldn't make a detective. When this trial is over, you will forfeit your warrant card, Miss Lestrade. Is that clear? I've had it with a lot of you. It's lies every bleeding place you look in this world, ain't it? Well, I've had enough. Gina. So have I. After that little speech of Gina's, I've made up my mind. To do what, Mr. Naruhodo? There was one point in this cross-examination when something that was just said didn't sit right with me. One statement that seemed odd. Oh, do you mean... I'm not gonna let Gina's plea for help fall on deaf ears. Well, I think there was a flaw. Where was it? It was in one of these two testimonies, I think.
Hold it!
I want to thank you, Gina. You helped me find my resolve. Eh? What do you mean? Amongst everything we've heard during this cross-examination, there's one thing that defies explanation. One inconsistency. What? An inconsistency? Really, Otto? I don't quite know what it means yet, but... yes, there's an inconsistency in something that was said by, if you recall, Kazuma Sogi.
Take that!
I did take a moment to think about it for a second there. By you, Kazuma Sogi. Me? Is this some attempt at filibustering, counsel? Prosecutor Sogi has given no testimony. What are you suggesting that what are you suggesting I said I was inconsistent? You let something slip that you shouldn't have. When I present the relevant piece of evidence, I imagine you'll realize what you've done. Very well then, counsel. Go ahead. What evidence reveals this alleged inconsistency in what Prosecutor Sogi said? Easy. It's the trunk.
Take that!
It was recovered by Gina. So... this is a trunk that belonged to Inspector Gregson. A metal construction, is it? It's certainly very heavy. What's this? A bloodstain. And a relatively fresh one, too. What? You mean that ain't grease from all the boss's fish and chips? Fresh blood on the inspector's trunk. That suggests that the victim was traveling with that luggage when he was killed. That can't be. There was no mention of any trunk in Scotland Yard's report. Yes, there's a reason for that. Immediately after the inspector's body was discovered, one of the street peddlers made off with the trunk, hoping to sell it. But I found it. Me, with my nose for trouble. Which means that nobody should have known anything about the trunk. Yet Kazuma does. That's what I was thinking of earlier. Like, how does he know about? I wasn't sure if like my memory was like failing me or like messing itself up. But yeah, how exactly does Kazuma know about the trunk when Gina just found it? Unless, of course, we're talking about someone who was present when the victim was killed. And yet, during this cross-examination of the witness just now, you said this, Kazuma.
Because at the time that he was making his way to the steamship docked on the northward coast of France, as shown by the passport found in the victim's metal trunk. Oh.
So, the question is, how did you know about the inspector's trunk?
We know the man went on a trip to France. Where else would he have put his passport?
Objection!
But you knew it was a metal trunk. Answer me honestly, Kazuma. On the 31st of October, where exactly were you?
At the port of Dunkirk, on board the SS Grouse.
Is that the answer you're looking for, Ryunosuke? Kazuma, what did you...
Yeah, bro, you were there?
I hadn't considered the possibility before, but if Kazuma was there on the ship, then it can only have been for one purpose. Oh no, Mr. Naruhodo. Surely you don't think...
Come on, Ryunosuke. You know the rules. The only thing that really talks in the courtroom is hard evidence. As I understand it, Inspector Gregson was always took that case with him when he traveled. So, as it stands, you've proved nothing.
Kazuma, are you challenging me to prove it, beyond all the reasonable doubt? That you were there that day, in the same place as the inspector? He was there? With Gregson? There's a clue that you overlooked. A secret that the trunk can tell us. I can't be sure at this point. I'll need to verify. But I have a nasty feeling that I'm gonna be right.
The accusation is being made is deeply disturbing, but nevertheless, we must test it. The defense will identify for the court where in this trunk the alleged clues to be found. Where is the evidence that ties Prosecutor Sogi to Inspector Gregson?
Easy enough to say, actually. First things first is opening up the trunk. Something has been a bit odd that we've kind of overlooked till now. It's not the bloodstain, because we've already seen that. Not the passport, because we've already seen that. But what is this? Do you see that? There's something stuck on the side of the trunk there. It's glinting. It looks like a fragment of metal of some sort. But it's wedged so tight, I can't remove it. But don't cut yourself. You better leave it, I think. Yeah.
Got it!
There's a small piece of metal lodged in the wall of the trunk here. Like the tip of a blade. Eh? A blade? Kazuma, slung around your waist as of today, is the esteemed blade Karuma.
Of course it is.
Won't you draw it here in this courtroom for all to see? Exercise caution, my learned friend. That man is the son of London's most notorious killer.
Bailiff, watch Prosecutor Sogi like a hawk.
That won't be necessary.
Oh no! The tip is broken. If the fragment of metal from that trunk fits together with the end of the sword, the question of who was there with Inspector Gregson will be answered. Agreed. Kazuma Sogi? Expertly done, Ryunosuke. That's a point to you, and well deserved.
Do you mean to tell the court, Prosecutor Asogi?
Yes. On the 31st of October, I accompanied Inspector Gregson to Dunkirk in order to carry out a mission. So the additional person authorized to travel was me.
And the mission was...
The assassination of the Mark. What? What? You mean you're the girl whose name was omitted from this notebook? You were following the Reaper's orders to dispatch Judge Goku? Let me make one thing perfectly clear. I have killed no one.
Explain.
I accepted it, the assassination mission, yes, and I accompanied Gregson to Dunkirk, but I never had any intention of carrying out the plan.
You are never going to do it?
We can believe Kazuma-sama, I'm sure. After all, Judge Shigoku arrived safely in London the following day. On the 31st, I boarded a train from London with Inspector Gregson. We've travelled to Dover, from where we crossed the channel to Dunkirk. And then we boarded the SS Grouse and made for the cabin deck, as indicated in the plan. You went to Judge Shigoku's cabin? Exactly. He wasn't there, though. We decided to wait, but
But you've already told us you had no intention of going through with it anyway.
I didn't come to Great Britain to take anyone's life. So I left Gregson and disembarked the ship. I spent that night in a boarding house in the town, and I returned to England the following morning.
Then why is the tip of your blade stuck in a boarding house in Dunkirk?
My signature will be in the register book. It would be simple enough to verify.
Then, what became of Jigoku?
Gregson was no assassin, so the mark was spared. I'm sure it's easy enough to imagine what happened after that. Gregson returned to England as well, having failed to complete the mission. He met with the Reaper in that room on Fresno Street to report the failure, causing the infuriated mastermind to pull the trigger and end his wretched agent's life. That's the real truth behind Inspector Gregson's murder.
Objection!
But if you did nothing as you claim, how did the tip of your sword come to be lodged in the inspector's trunk?
Yeah. I don't need to answer that. This is the entire reason you're talking! What are you talking about? You don't need to answer that. This is the entire reason you're talking!
What do you mean you don't need to answer that?
The victim was killed by a gunshot. A small fragment of a Japanese blade isn't relevant to the case. And accordingly, I choose to exercise my right to silence on that matter.
Be that as it may, the court will sequester the sword as evidence.
As you wish, my lord.
The great sword, Karuma.
We must take immediate action now, to verify whether Seishiro Jigoku remains unharmed.
Let me look at this nice little blade before that. What does it say? The prize sword has a small piece missing. Okay. Lovely little sword. Karuma, the great blade. It's a thing of beauty. I want to gaze on it for hours. You know, funnily enough, even without the tip, the blade still looks like a blade. You wouldn't really notice that the tip is gone. Unless you looked at it closely. The tip of the great sword. Broken. Such a shame. It's been so meticulously cared for over the years. I can almost hear Karuma's sobs. Karuma must have really taken a swing for that to happen. Well, Swords don't last forever. I don't know, that's right. That's it? Nothing around the hilt, nothing inside this thing. Just... No? Okay. Alright then. What? Remains unharmed.
I agree. That should be our first priority.
It's recently come to my attention that he hasn't been seen since yesterday.
How did you...
When a foreign dignitary invited to Great Britain goes missing for 24 hours, it's only natural that the question of his safety should arise. You don't mean to say that you think Judge Jigoku may have been killed?
The Reaper has more than one assassin at his disposal,
And he has the power and influence to give orders from the inside of a prison cell. Isn't that right,
Lord Van Zeeks?
If I were truly the Reaper, I'd be able to tell you. Order! Order in the courtroom. We will take an emergency recess for 30 minutes.
Now?
Guests of the symposium have been told to maintain regular contact with the organizer's office. If the man can't be located within half an hour, we will have to assume the worst.
Oh no, not Judge Jigoku.
No one would want to kill a harmless Japanese man who'd only just arrived in the country. Except, that is, for the Reaper wanted to finish off a mark that slipped through the net 10 years ago.
I would have to agree. Mr. Naruhodo, for the defense's sake.
My lord.
I sincerely hope we are successful. If we're unable to confirm Mr. Jigoku's healthy existence in the next 30 minutes, you will face grave difficulties.
Ah.
Court is adjourned for 30 minutes.
Alright, looks like this is going to be another hour long, since I know what's coming up next. Looks like this might be another hour long episode. Apologies for that, but hey, it is what it is. You'll enjoy this part.
Kazuma-sama, the Reaper's assassin.
I feel as though I'm in a nightmare. I can hardly believe it either. But on the other hand, Kazuma isn't in the habit of making up stories. I have such a terrible sense of foreboding. If something awful has happened to Judge Jigoku, then I feel as though things will only spiral further and further out of control. I felt it from the moment I stepped into the courthouse this morning. That strange sensation that we were careering towards a foregone conclusion. Well, in the worst case, we might only have 30 minutes left. Unfortunately, though, I don't think there's anything we can do but wait now. We're out of options. Actually, there may be one last hand we can play. Or rather, one last ear. Of course! The little Mr. Sholmes doll Iris gave us.
If for some reason you completely run out of options in the trial today, then just pull this little Hurley's ears as hard as you possibly can.
Perhaps now is the time. What should I do? Pull Harley's ears? Or not? Well, obviously pull it. We ain't got any other options. Here goes then. I'm gonna do it.
Good luck, Mr. Naruhodo.
No looking back.
Heave! Ow!
That scream sounds like Mr. Sholmes. But Mr. Sholmes? Where are you? Here, my dear fellow, here. It's the felt doll talking. Hold yours again, Mr. Naruhodo, as hard as you can. Alright then. I'll put all my strength to it.
Heave!
Ah!
Please, my dear fellows, you don't need to pull my ear off. Mr. Sholmes? Where are you? Myself and my trusty partner are presently in the first-class cabin area of the SS Grouse. The SS Grouse? She left over last night after the final pieces of cargo were loaded. We are currently docked at Dunkirk, but due to be underway again in half an hour. You've taken a ship to France? Please, even with my athletic prowess, I would struggle to jump the Straits of Dover. After we left Baker Street last night, we hurried by cab to the station and by train to the port. In order to board this very vessel in time. So, you mean you'd already worked it out? That the steamship was where everything really took place? Mr. Naruhodo, pray, what is my name? Sherlock Sholmes, world-famous great detective. Recited to perfection. Well done.
You're a genius, Mr. Sholmes. That's the only word for it.
Ow, ow, ow. Mr. Sato, gently with this genius's ear, please.
Oh my, I'm ever so sorry.
If I may, Sholmes.
There you are, Mikotowa.
You may remember that it was in fact I who made the connection to the SS Grouse at Scotland Yard yesterday when we examined that notebook and I recalled my steamship ticket.
But of course it was, my dear fellow. And not once did I controvert that fact. I merely had our court-bound companions utter my name.
Yes, you did, didn't you?
We've just entered a recess. The trial resumes in 30 minutes from now.
And if we are unable to present any new leads, then I'm afraid to say,
do not fret, please. It's for precisely that purpose that my partner and I have made this journey. I have no doubt that we shall have welcome news for you. We shall have welcome news for you within half the hour. I should probably read this in the entire sentence before I start saying it. Thank you, Mr. Sholmes. That would be wonderful. Until later, then. Yes, you'll be hearing from us if you're not in touch first. Ow, 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 ow. I shan't be hearing anything if you keep tugging my ear in that mindless fashion.
Whatever was the idea behind making a receiver operate in that way in the first place, Sholmes?
Why the deuce would I know? It's Iris's invention, not mine.
Whilst I know how much you enjoy being the hero of the hour of Sholmes, we have but half that now before the Grouse puts to sea again. If we don't conclude our investigations rapidly, we shall find ourselves in Naples before long.
There are times, Mikotowa, when you make a surprising amount of sense. So, let us begin.
First class cabin number 2. Yep, this is the one. But I don't believe an investigation of a cabin is going to be plain sailing. That crewman standing in front of the door was an angry-looking fellow.
Why you are loitering here? Who are you? My dear fellow, do you not recognize the world-famous great detective when you see one? The question really ought to be, who are you?
Do you not recognize world-traveling great sailor Chicken Stroganoff when you see?
Great detective? Ha! I don't think so. Do you see that, Mikotoba? It would appear that this man is a devoted follower of mine.
Goodness me, is that a tattoo? That says Sholmes. I must say, while such adoration is flattering, naturally, it does leave me a little cold.
What are you talking about? Leave, now! How distressing. My loyal devotee knows me only by name and not by appearance. And yet, I already know a great deal about you, sir. You have a brother, I believe? Like yourself, he's a shipman. Currently traveling to the world aboard a Russian steamship, in fact. How could you know this? Elementary, my dear Mikotoba.
I'm sure it was. 3 days ago, I was bound for London aboard this ship, you see. We're looking for one of my fellow passengers, a man by the name of Jigoku.
There is no one with this name on board.
But we know that he purchased a ticket for passage.
Ah, you mean Eastern man. He left ship 2 hours ago. Here at Dunkirk. He said something about emergency, I think. What? Are you sure?
Soseishi has realized we're after him, has he?
His cabin is the one behind you. We should like to investigate it, please. No, I have orders not to let even mouse inside. Mikotoba, be a good man and draw the sailor's attention away, would you? Make up some excuse that he leaves the area. Yeah? Doesn't great detectives see that even sailors have ears, both left and right? Curses! The plan is ruined.
And you have only yourself to blame, I'm afraid, Sholmes.
Forget it. Cabin door is locked. Even if I am not here, you cannot get inside. Mikotoba, I'm sure you haven't forgotten my special talent, have you?
Opening any lock?
Within a mere 5 seconds. So, if you'd be so kind as to afford me the requisite time, old friend, in your typically accommodating manner.
How could I refuse such a typically unappealing request, old friend?
So, I need to distract that burly sailor for 5 seconds, do I? Good man. So, the game is afoot. Okay, what can I use? What is this? Ah,
The switch for the electrical light.
perhaps if I were to turn off the lights, the crewmen wouldn't be able to see what we're doing. Let's do it! What is happening? Where is light? Now, Sholmes, now! Nobody there. That was a close shave. Quite like you have, stumbling so violently in an empty corridor.
Do be quiet, Sholmes. I should have to think of another approach.
Okay. What's that noise? Thought I heard something. Anything outside I can use?
That's the way back to the deck, but we certainly can't give up on this now.
True. The mousetrap. We can hit his toe with it. This must be a mousetrap, I think.
Perhaps I could distract the crewman's attention with this somehow.
Let's try it.
Choo choo.
That sounds like big mouse in trap.
Choo, choo.
I will bring bucket of water later and put out the misery. I don't like the sound of that. In any case, my dear fellow, that was quite unconvincing. Only Japanese mice make a chew sound.
Oh really, Sholmes? And pray tell, what sound do Russian mice make?
P, naturally. Though also quite unconvincing, I readily admit. So, go ahead, Mikotoba. Do a PP this time.
No, thank you.
I'm sure I can come up with an alternative solution. Oh, the fire alarm, of course. Why didn't I think of that sooner?
This would appear to be an alarm bell. All hell would break loose if that thing were to ring. The whole crew would know about it.
Let's do it!
Here goes, then. Pardon me in advance.
You! What are you doing? If we were at sea, that would be very bad problem.
What's going on down there? Seaman Stroganoff, report at once.
Sorry, sir, nothing to report. It was just stupid trick. No, not by me, by world famous... no, as I told you. Now, Sholmes, now! Done.
Not even 5 seconds, eh?
I don't stand up there gulping up my brilliance. Mikotoba, in we go.
Mikotoba, but
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
3rd of November, the SS Grouse, first class cabin number 2. Well, something done happen in here.
Good gracious.
It would appear that the occupant of this cabin did indeed disembark rather hurriedly.
Those clothes on the floor there, they're Seishiro's, without question.
Well, it seems we are just a little too late.
Yes, by about 2 hours.
Still, whilst we're here, we should investigate thoroughly. There may well be 2 hours worth of clues to find in here.
But that burly crewman may return at any moment, Sholmes.
Indeed he may, which make this all the more thrilling. Let's go. Quite the exquisite glass, I must say. See here how it...
Is something wrong, Sholmes? You suddenly trailed off.
Ice, Mikotoba. Ice. What opulences the first class calendars enjoy. Chilled drinks.
Pardon?
Could it be that the steamship is equipped with an electrically refrigerated cold room, do you think?
So if he was killed here, he could have been put for ice.
Well, it is a luxury liner after all. They have enormous refrigerators for storing all sorts of lavish produce as well as ice. On our voyage from Japan, we enjoyed culinary delights from all over the world.
Suddenly, Mikotoba, the sight of you is making my mouth water. Plus,
Hold up! Hold up! If there's still ice in the thing, then...
I don't know about you, but 2 hours is enough time for ice to dry. Especially if it's in an open glass cup like that. Dry? No, ice to melt. Especially if it's in an open cup like that. What the heck is this?
There's a speaking tube here. Look, though it's been stopped with some cloth. So the voices of the crewmen on the bridge aren't an annoyance, I suppose.
Or indeed, so that the voices in this cabin aren't heard elsewhere.
Could something have happened in here that was fought for no one's ears, do you think?
Either that, or... It could be to prevent snakes from entering.
That's really become a favorite case of yours, hasn't it?
Yeah? What is this?
These are the rules of passage. Passengers must not keep weapons or other dangerous objects in their cabins. Pets are also strictly forbidden. Additionally, there are severe punishments for stowing away in wardrobes and or travel cases.
I feel the rules have increased since I last read them. Probably just my imagination.
What about the fact that they're not straight on the wall? Doesn't that strike you?
You may be right. Probably just your imagination, though. A trifle. And you know what I always say, Mikotoba? There is nothing important about trifles.
It's probably just my imagination, but I think that might be slightly off.
Okay, what about this big chest? That's a very sizable trunk indeed.
Seish was partial to all things large.
And a rather clumsy fellow, if you fail to notice he left that behind.
Perhaps he left it on purpose. It's lighter than you might think, but still a hindrance to a speedy escape.
Pity. It's locked. Say we can't look inside.
Surely 5 seconds from now the situation will be quite different though.
Sadly not. It has a 7-digit combination lock. And I'm not in a morose enough mood to work through all the combinations at present. Okay. Anything in the trash can like before?
This is the waste paper basket. Look, and there's still rubbish inside.
Indeed? Then let us pry. I've discovered recently that I have a penchant for exploring the contents of others' waste paper baskets.
I sincerely hope only for your work.
Ah. Here we have a notice issued to passengers from 3 days ago.
3 days ago, the night before we arrived in London then, when I was still aboard myself.
All crew members assigned to come together for everything.
Ah yes, there was an evacuation drill, I remember now.
For our safety and security, all first-class passengers were constantly under the watchful eye of the crew.
So it was a welcome relief to have some privacy for once.
Interesting. Found in Judge Jigoku's cabin. Why? Why was that found in his cabin of all places? Hey, what is this?
The wall is a slightly different color just here. Do you see?
Indeed. What you have observed arises when a frame that has been hanging for some time is removed. Perhaps your friend is an art thief.
Now there's a bold deduction worthy of a great detective, I'm sure.
He may very well be the elusive thief who has been plaguing France's galleries as of late. Arsène Lupin? Well, the elusive thief that's been plaguing France's galleries. I think Arsène Lupin?
I think perhaps we should focus our attentions elsewhere, Sholmes, don't you? That outline on the wall. I feel as though I might have spotted something of a similar shape and size elsewhere.
You are still here?
Ah, Abel Seaman Stroganoff. Hello again.
I was beginning to think you'd never materialize. Eh? You are waiting for me? Of course. I was expecting to burst in with a hearty Russian profanity much far sooner. I was in trouble with Captain because of trick you played before.
Poor innocent chicken.
It is all your fault. Ship is leaving port soon. Get off, now. Of course, we shall disembark presently, my dear fellow. But first, there is something that must be done. 53 minutes in. You know what? Screw it. Let's do it. I was gonna end the episode here, but... Well, do I? Do I not? Do I? Do I not? Let's flip a coin. Heads, I end things here. Tails, I don't. Let's see. Flip a coin. Tails. Alright, let's do this.
What are you talking about?
Why, naturally, the debunking of your deceit and the burying of the truth. Kakoi? I'm afraid I see through your lies. For one thing,
Mr. Jigoku has not yet left this vessel at all. Ah! And for another, my dear Seaman Stroganov, you know exactly where the man is, even as we speak, don't you? How can you?
Good gracious, Sholmes. You mean you've worked it out? All of it?
It's really been too long, hasn't it, old friend? 10 years, no less. So, would you care to join me for a dance of my imitable logic and reasoning?
Nothing would please me more.
What is this? We have but minutes until the vessel puts to sea. No games now. Time is of the essence. Mr. Stroganov, allow me to remind you of your earlier claim. You told us that Jigoku left the ship some 2 hours ago. That is what I said. Sadly, that was a rather clumsy lie. You see, there is something in this room that quite clearly contradicts it.
What? Ah, yes, of course.
I see you noticed it too, Mikotoba. Please, then, do take the lead. What in this cabin shows the impossibility of Jigoku's having disembarked 2 hours ago? Haha, let's see what the last 3 years have done to your observational skills then, Mikotoba.
It's been 10 years since we last did this, Sholmes, not 3.
Why, of course it has. Quite. Now, all the clues are here in this cabin for your eyes to see. But as I always say, you must not merely look, but observe. Observe, and the answers become clear. So, impress me.
I think I can manage that.
Ooh, this is good. The last dance of deduction, and also my favorite. What shows the impossibility of Jigoku leaving? Easy enough. It's this.
Take that!
Perhaps you could have cleared away that glass?
How curious that the ice shouldn't have melted despite it being abandoned 2 hours ago. It would appear that the man was here in this very cabin until the moment before our arrival. With this well-chilled glass in hand, and my favorite theme too.
Get your mind off the refreshment, Sholmes.
One might even conclude that somebody informed him of our boarding. Wouldn't you agree, Mr. Stroganov?
But why would Seishiro run from us?
Before we consider that question, allow me to confirm one small matter. Would I be correct in saying that these first-class cabins of the SS Grouse are the same ones in which you and Mr. Jigoku were accommodated on your voyage from Japan?
Ah, that's right. They are. I was in the cabin next door, and Seishiro was, yes, 50 days in this very cabin during our voyage.
As I suspected, for you see, there are traces in this cabin of a dark secret that Mr. Jigoku had to hide.
What traces?
I know nothing about this. This is news to you, is it, Mr. Stroganov?
Sholmes, what exactly are you getting at?
As I said, there are traces in this cabin of some nefarious activity. Something that appears out of place, for which I'm sure won't have escaped your notice.
Something out of place in here?
That's the key to this, Mikotoba. The remnants of the dark deed that took place in here are being masked by something quite incongruous. I must say, I didn't foresee ever doing this dance of deduction with you again, Mikotoba.
No, quite. But life is full of unexpected twists and turns, as we well know. Now then, Let's see if I can't uncover the truth here.
Yes, you have the floor, my dear fellow. Easy. It's this. After all, it was supposed to be here. But it's not.
Take that!
It's the rules of passage in this frame here. They're obviously out of place. The way they're hanging crooked on the wall, as if they were put there in a hurry.
Yes, as I'm sure you've already concluded. That frame was originally over here. The shape and size are a perfect match.
Ah, you are right. When did the frame move?
Hardly the most obstinate of crewmen, are you, Mr. Stroganoff? I would think your captain is quite justified in having his reservations about your reliability.
Oh dear, that really seems to touch a nerve.
So, Mikosoba, why don't you lift that frame off the wall?
A bullet hole.
That looks like a bullet hole.
What? Who's been shooting walls?
I see the projectile has been removed. Clearly, the careful occupant of the room has already disposed of it. Now then, Mr. Stroganoff, I have the distinct impression that you're attempting to shield said occupant.
I don't know what you're talking about. Why would I try to protect Eastern stranger?
Ah, so we're talking about the same man, I see. Good. I'm sure we can get to the bottom of this in no time, aren't you? Because there's some very noteworthy evidence that explains the reason why you're lying for the man. Yes, you've been told to keep up this pretense as clearly shown by...
I really don't know how to approach this one, Sholmes.
Ah, my dear Mikotoba, simply keep first principles in mind. Study your subject from every angle. And I'm quite sure that you'll see it. In fact, I'd put a wager on it.
So I'm to glare at the fellow from all sides? Well, I can certainly do that.
Okay, scarf. Oh, what is this?
Take that!
It's almost too obvious for words.
Quite. The universal language of the world. Money.
And I'd wager that Eastern fellow in question is Seishiro Jigoku, yes? So, I presume you realize what this means? There are clear signs that a crime has been committed in this cabin. And the way you're going, sir, you'll find yourself accused of being an accomplice.
But... I believe you know, Mr. Stroganov. You know where Mr. Jigoku's hiding at this precise moment in time.
Yeah?
As always, Mikotoba, in matters of deduction, the furtive glance is your unfaltering ally.
Yes, I think you're onto something there, Sholmes. You found the chink in this burly fellow's armor.
We need only follow the man's gaze to know where our prey is hiding. Yeah, he didn't just look his eyes, he did the slightest flicker of the pupils, a minutely delayed blink. He didn't flicker the pupils, he didn't blink, he full on looked over. It's obvious. Nothing escaped my attention, even that which is barely perceptible.
You could hardly call this barely perceptible, Sholmes. The man's turned his entire head. It's not exactly what you describe as a furtive glance, is it? It's almost too obvious.
We shall let your tapping toes decide, my dear fellow. Obviously, in here. No, oh, he's in the trash can. No, he's not big enough. Oh, the trash can can't hold him. He's in the trunk.
Take that!
You turned immediately to look at this large trunk, didn't you? Ah! The truth is, Seishiro Jigoku was unable to escape from the ship in time, and is, at this very moment, doing his best to stifle his breath inside the trunk.
If he still has a breath to take, I fear he may be running dangerously low on air. I imagine he didn't count on us making a nuisance of ourselves for quite so long. I think it would be in everyone's best interest for us to open the trunk as quickly as possible.
But, how can we? Are you forgetting the combination lock? We don't know the 7-digit code.
Oh, the combination lock can't be opened from the inside of the trunk. Can't be opened from inside the trunk. Therefore, there must have been an arrangement for somebody to open it after our departure.
Of course.
In short, before Jigoku hid himself inside that trunk, he must have told somebody the 7-digit number for the lock. As I'm sure you can confirm, Mr. Stroganov. No, I know nothing about the combination code. Don't move a muscle, my good seaman.
Huh?
Now, Mikotoba, would you do the honors and open the trunk?
How on earth do you expect me?
It's a 7-digit number, remember. Quickly now, we have little time. Yeah? 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 Alright, well, it's actually rather easy. See how he's a fan of Sholmes? Well, that ain't really the case. Now this... I guess I have to put in the code. Alright, let me see this for a second. You have to look at it. Look at his arm for a second. You'll see it says Sholmes. Try to flip your phone or whatever upside down. You'll see what I mean. Let's see. 5, 2, I guess that's 3. 2, 3. 1, 0, 4, 5. 1, 0.
Take that!
There it is.
That did it. It's open. You had to meddle, didn't you? Well, Eugen, you found me now. Seishiro.
How did you manage to fit your entire Hulking figure inside that?
I was really hoping beyond hope not to find you here, you know. Much you're not entirely unsurprised, I take it. No, quite. I just wish it were some other way.
Well, are you ever going to introduce me?
Ah, your reputation precedes you, Mrs. Sholmes. I've read stories of many of your exploits. Excuse my manners, Sholmes. This is Mr. Jigoku, my old friend and traveling companion.
The devil is in the details, Mikotoba. I believe you meant to say your old friend and traveling companion, who made the cowardly decision to flee the country without word to anyone when things turned sour.
I see my reputation precedes me as well. What an honor. Well, Seishiro, are you going to explain all this? You know it by now, I imagine. What you didn't know, of course, is that 3 days ago, on the night before our arrival in Britain, an attempt was made on my life here in this very ship. By the Reaper of the Bailey? Yes, I've since heard. Because you were once prosecuted by the Reaper, weren't you? 10 years ago now, mind you. And I had no idea at the time what a dangerous individual he was.
Anyway, when we arrived in London to find the symposium was postponed until goodness knows when, it became all too apparent to me that I might very well be targeted again.
So you decided to flee the capital without saying a word to me about it?
I'm afraid so, yes. Of course, I realize now that I really ought to have confided in you.
It's somewhat surprising, I must say.
What is?
Well, first-class cabins aboard luxury steamships are in very short supply. It's more than a little hard to believe that this one just happened to be available.
So says the protagonist of some colorful short stories. Well, I don't care for your opinion. The cabin did just happen to be available, so I purchased a ticket and here I am.
I've just seen for myself the obvious remnants of the incident in this cabin. So you'd already purchased your return ticket before we even docked in Dover, had you? To prevent anyone from else taking this cabin and seeing the evidence. Is that it?
Eugen, I have nothing to say to you.
Well, in a mere 5 minutes, this ship will set off on its onward voyage and not make port again until Italy. I'm afraid we must insist that you disembark with us at once.
You have no jurisdiction over my movements.
We have this, Seishiro. Take it. An official summons.
What is it?
It's a subpoena from the Old Bailey. You're a man of the law. You know what the ramifications of ignoring a document like this from the British courts would be.
You came prepared then, Eugen.
Come on. Let's go.
One moment.
What is it, Sholmes?
Inside Mr. Jigoku's trunk, I found this rather fascinating trinket.
No, that's...
What is that, Seishiro?
I can't help you, I'm afraid. It's some small component from something.
I've seen where that comes from before. No.
But what? I have no idea.
By the look on his face,
I think he genuinely doesn't know.
well, let us pocket it as a small souvenir of our brief sojourn in France. Alright then.
Well, young Naruhodo, I think we've done as much as we can, I'm afraid. The rest will be on the shoulders of you and your assistant.
And I think that's a good spot to end things off on. Whew, we did a lot. We did a... Crud. I saved over the file. Dang it. Dang it. Alright. I guess I'll just play through all of it again then. Oh well. I guess I'll just... Whatever. I can't just like skip to this part, so it's not like it's I guess not like it's a huge problem. Anyways, thank you all for watching, and yeah, next time I'm gonna end things off, and yeah. So next time we're gonna, I guess, continue on with the trial. So yeah. Sorry, it's like 11:30 right now. I've been recording for almost an hour and 30 minutes, so I'm a bit tired. Thank you all for watching, and yeah, I'll see you all next time.